Welcome to the Sunny Side of Freedom. Today we have a special guest. We have the saluting Marine, Tim Chambers, with us. What an honor it is to have him on the Sunny Side of Freedom podcast. Tim and I met initially on the TikTok platform on our Veterans Night, which is very near and dear to my heart, which is a live I host every Friday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, for our veterans and our military families. An opportunity to get to know our veterans and our military families because every story matters. And that's where I met Tim Chambers. What an honor, right? Hi, Tim. How are you?
Great, great. So,
Thank you so much for being here today. I know we all lead very busy lives, so it means a lot to me that you take time to come on the podcast. And I would love our viewers to hear a little bit from you, how you got started and well known as the Saluting Marine.
well, it just comes down to volunteerism, and that's something that the Marine Corps kind of volunteers us to do. And it caught on like wildfire when you saw the satisfaction
Hmm.
um, of helping people. And I was stationed in DC, and this big event happens called Rolling Thunder. It's a prisoner of war missing action awareness ride. The Vietnam veterans started like 38 years ago. And I was out there as a partner with the Korean War Commemoration Committee like the first year, and I had a display set up by the Korean War Monument. So I was jumping out of the bushes, educating people about the Korean War. And I was wearing the Korean War attire that we have in our Marine Corps birthday ball pageant when we honor those that went before us. And I thought, I'm going to come out next year in my uniform because a lot of people come to the monuments and it's very emotional with veterans and patriots and family members. And I want to reach out and thank them for the service because there's a lot of vets leaving our ranks. And the only time we really get to thank them, from the military, is when we present a flag, and that's too late to thank them for their service. And that's one of maybe the only times they ever thank kind of thing. So um, I just come out the next year, wandered aimlessly, shaking hands, giving out hugs, learning about our history. And I saw the bike zooming by, and I knew it was like a prisoner of war missing action awareness ride, is what my understanding was. I didn't even know it was called Rolling Thunder, but that's what it was called. And Vietnam veterans started it like 38 years ago. And so I see the bike zooming by, and I'm like, how can I reach all these veterans and the motorcycles, and then it came back to me about like the only time we do thank them is when it's too late. And, this didn't evolve until years later, but 9/11 had just happened. So I was at the Pentagon for 9/11, spent 3 days bringing remains out. You know, we lost all those Americans, right? And then all the many after that. But at that moment in time, because it was only a few months after that, I just felt like maybe I didn't want people to leave our ranks here down at Earth and not get any kind of appreciation. But that didn't evolve until years later, like maybe 3 years ago. So initially, it was just to thank the veterans on the motorcycles. It's probably nothing that anyone wouldn't expect from me growing up because I was the mascot in high school and stuff, So I always had that enthusiasm. And I had to explain that to some brass years later. But so I jumped down in the middle of the street, and I know what they know what a salute means. And so the bikes are zooming by, and I kind of see tears rolling down their faces because it's a stretch, and they would slow down. And there were bikes pulling over past me, and I didn't know until like 3 to 4 years later when I started to get like thousands of emails on AOL.com that what that meant to them. Because no one knew me. For the first few years, it was unidentified Marine salutes bikers at Rolling Thunder. And so it kept like, it was very long. I didn't know how many bikes. There's hundreds of thousands of motorcycles. And I just kept thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm making a connection with these people. So I need to keep up with this salute. And they just kept coming forever. At the end of it, though, both sides of the route rush me because after they complete the routes, they park up and down Constitution and everywhere. And they just embraced me. It was like hug after hug after hug. We held up the traffic in DC for another hour. And that's after like 3.5 hours of the traffic being held up to begin with for this ride called Rolling Thunder, which is now called Rolling to Remember, thanks to the MVets. So I walked away from that corner and I just felt like I touched some people, and it became a memorial post, and I've been there every year since.
So let me ask you, how long did you hold your salute for?
The longest has been like 5.5 hours. That was the year the World War II Memorial was dedicated. I'm still got to keep it up. I came out to salute the bikes when there are no bikes going around the Lincoln Monument and there are no bikes up the stretch. There's a break. So what am I doing? So I'll smartly drop my salute, and that's called self-preservation. But it is a little bit, like I always was good in formations and snap and pop, all that good stuff. Like I didn't, get to go to war, medical limitations and whatnot, but I never lost my enthusiasm and was number one for the working parties. So I just kept, I just felt like that had become my moral post to be
Okay.
at that intersection.
How many years have you been doing this now?
This will be my 22nd year. Thanks to the vets continuing the ride, because the Vietnam vets getting older, they don't want to continue it. And the vets saw the importance of it. And what's cool is they not only are continuing the tradition with POWI awareness, but veteran suicide as well. They're bringing that to the forefront, which is a very good way to start that weekend that we honor those that aren't with us. Memorial Day, leads right into Memorial Day. So yeah, even during COVID, I was there. Did you know that?
I did not know that. No.
No
Wow.
one else was there, but I was there. And what happened, I stood there for 24 hours. I live streamed it. And I did this on a ruptured Achilles tendon because the VA couldn't fix it because it was COVID time. Okay. And I'm doing deliveries on my foot with a ruptured Achilles tendon. And I stood there for 24 hours. I wanted to represent the ride. You know what I mean? Well, I had a motorcycle in front of me. I had the American flag, and I saluted for 22 minutes to the first hour and reduced it a minute each hour and I wanted that to represent how we need to strive to reduce the numbers. And, a lot of us know that it's more than 22. Just like any other stat, like how many poor do we have? There's more than that simple little number they post. But yeah, it was just it's very humbling. It's very emotional. So much emotion.
I often hashtag we're never alone. And so often, so many feel alone, which goes back to bringing awareness to the 22 a day, which we know is not 22 a day, as you mentioned.
Yes.
It requires so much participation from so many. And part of my mission and purpose has been to engage as many civilians as possible. And that's how the Veterans Night was actually created by me on the Sunny Side of Freedom, which is on TikTok a year ago. And one by one, more started to join us. That's how I met you. And
Hmm.
get that because when you came into my live, on any kind of social media platform, we create all kinds of handles, as we call them, right?
Hmm.
So see somebody that says saluting Marine, you don't know if it's really the saluting Marine, Tim Chambers. And I think the first time you came in, I felt so embarrassed because I was like, are you serious? He was the real guy? Like, really in my life? Yeah, you need to go check out his page. And I think it was when I did, I had reached out to you in the DMs and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And from that moment forward, we've more or less stayed connected to the best of our abilities. We all have busy lives, but through the social media platform. And I'm truly honored to have you here on the podcast today for so many reasons. There's so much more to us than just what someone might say we are. And I mean, this in itself is huge. You're a celebrity. And as one of our Marines said on my most recent live, you had a celebrity here. And I said, I actually know Tim, and he's amazing. He's a great human being, and so happy that you're here because this story in itself is leaving footprints in the heart of Americans, what it is that you do and what you've committed to, year after year. But you're doing so much more than just that. Would you like to share? Again, it's up to you what you'd like to share, but I know you do much more than that. You present flags as well.
Well, yeah, like the family or someone or a friend or a distant relative will call me and say they have a buddy that's ailing and you're on their bucket list. Can you send them a picture and sign it? And I find a way to show up, okay? Like, um, like it's just why the guy that married us in DC at my salute, before the salute, I got married there. Air Force vet, Kentucky. He calls me. He's like, Tim, when the time comes, will you be there for me? I'm like, yes, Steve. He was really sick, and I'm like, why am I going to wait till he passes to be there for him? So I showed up a week later. Okay, and I gave him a eulogy. It's being creative, thinking outside the box, just like jumping off the curb, right? Who would have thought? And it's inspired other people, and Marines have joined me, and a sailor joined me, and a soldier joined me. And I put them up in front of me, and they're like, someone goes, hey, that's your corner, Tim. I'm like, I didn't urinate on anything. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, so it's just called a service, I'm studying social work, you know, trying to figure things out in life. We got to invest in our kids because, they are incorrigible, and it just wouldn't be bad for them to learn these lessons. And I really want to try to push before everyone passes for a day to honor the draftees, because that needs to lead into a educational movement to educate the youth. So these decisions they're making, you know, it's going to lead to a draft if they're not smart. So, I just feel that like it's kind of a no brainer, cannon fodder, whatever you want to call it. But um, got to focus on our youth and the families. We've never done enough. We only knock on their door when we need something, So that's why I go out of my way to be there for them. I don't think enough are in our country. People think of vet, but I think they need to say, hey, what do? You paint houses. We are going to find you business. I'm going to create the Saluting Marine Ambassadors, and they're just going to be getting a marketing packet to go in their community like they're selling Girl Scout cookies and frickin' find some business. Can you imagine the success of giving a vet like your trust, your loyalty, your respect by going out of your way and serving that vet by just shaking their hand? And it didn't cost anything. Now, it takes time. Time is very valuable, as you and I both know. Okay, like, but yeah, no, we're gonna rock it. I'm so happy to be part of your team, and be able to have a podcast as well. Just because I get to run into some really neat, well, I'm on the road, as you know, I'm on the road. Um,
Absolutely. I love your idea of bringing this into our towns, bringing it into the schools, whatever we can do, which is something else I want to touch base on with you, which is, the saluting Marine. Tim, you're a busy guy and you've done some amazing things. You really have, honest to goodness. And for our viewers, check out YouTube. You're going to see video after video. It's pretty impressive, but it's not impressive because you're a celebrity, as you don't like to be called, but it's what you're doing in lives, and you're making a difference in people's lives, and it's a memory that, especially when you lose someone, you're grieving through the loss of your loved one, but now you have something, like you have someone with presence who's coming to speak about their service, and I think
mhm.
that there's no price tag on that.
Yeah, so I don't know, just always been my life.
Our youth, and it wasn't until you and I started interacting that I realized that you actually wrote a children's book called The Saluting Marine. And if you'd like to check this out, you do have it up on your website, and you are
Oh,
free, and
oh
it's
no.
on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Presents Honor. It's about the flag. Society really missed it when they could reconsider what the flag could represent, and inspires the kid not only to stand, but I ask him to add something to the flag. It's our moral compass. Sometimes we get lost, but if we can look at the flag represents, we can find our way. And with that being said, he goes by the monuments in DC in a motorcycle, and he learns that people march for freedom and people march for equality, and that's who we honor, and we stand for the flag in a nutshell. So I'm not going to give you the conclusion of the book, but
Thank you so much once again. You did send me two copies, and you left little messages in there for me, and I thank you for that. You actually also referred to me as a motivator, which was the first time someone had ever called me that. And it wasn't until one time that I had you on one of my lives that you were discussing in length, what a motivator is and the action behind the word. And I appreciated that. I want you to know, my friend, that since that day, even when you're not present, those that were present sometimes will say that now. They're like, Sonny, you're a motivator. I'm like, I guess I am, huh? We all have it. And it's sometimes just a question of finding us, understanding how we're leading love for the group, which is so much of what you're doing. I do try every single day myself to do the same because I think the world needs it more and more every day.
Well, yeah, we stop the dominoes from falling, hopefully.
Yeah, you made it count, and you did.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your time greatly. We are approaching half an hour of our time, my time with you, and it's very appreciative. I mean, if there's something that you would like to further discuss or recap, if you're interested, I know that you're also going to be hosting your own podcast on the Paladins Network.
Hmm.
Excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you'll be discussing many topics there, but if you ever wanted to come on the Sunny Side of Freedom podcast and maybe do episodes with me, and we can actually touch base on some of the
Mm,
we've talked about
yeah.
solely on that, I'd be very happy to have you.
Oh, and vice versa, by all means. So it's going to be exciting to watch the Palladian Roundtable Network grow.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Well, thank you, my
Mm,
friend. Have a,
okay.
have a blessed night, and
You
we'll be.
too.
And to our viewers, please subscribe. Please leave comments down below. If you have questions for Tim Chambers, the Saluting Marine, please leave them down below. Ask questions. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, ask questions. If you have information or actual questions related to loans, etc., as a veteran, feel free to leave that below as well. Again, I thank you for your service, sir. I thank you for the time you've given me this evening on the Sunny Side of Freedom. And for our viewers, I always close out by saying, stay sunny, stay spicy, always make it count. God bless you. God bless the USA. Once again, Tim, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
My pleasure.
The red, white, blue, flying way up high, and we stand